Well, the school culture and climate is really very, very important. Every school has its own personality. It has its own feel. For many people, who've spent a lot of time in schools, it's very apparent the minute you walk in the door. Does that school feel busy? Does it feel chaotic? Does it feel welcoming? Does it feel a bit serious? And that's the climate of a school. It's how does it feel? It's just like the temperature. And it's something that is very unique to each school, and it's something that ideally it needs to be its own climate, but it also needs to be a positive climate. It's one that makes every student feel a part of it. The culture is something that runs more deep. It's how that school does things. What kind of values, what kind of traditions, how do people treat each other? Culture is something that takes a bit longer to address, and that runs a bit deeper. And it's very important to have a healthy, positive school culture and climate because it sets the tone for everything that happens within that building and for every individual within that building, both students, teachers, staff, parents, the entire school community.
Schools serve many purposes. The 3 R's, certainly reading, writing, arithmetic, are very important. Science and history and music and art and physical wellness. And schools are a center where children can get instruction and develop competence in all those areas. But there's another really important part of a school that differs from being at home. You have to interact with people who are not like you and your family. And you have to learn how to negotiate, how to connect, how to understand, how to work together with people who look different than you are, who see the world different than you are, and who may not even agree with some of the things that you hold dear. So schools are a place where all children learn to understand what's important to them, but also what others value and feel is important, and then how do we figure all that out in a solid working community. Can't do that anyplace else, not easily anyway.
All schools have a culture, all schools have a climate, and it's not something that you have or don't have. Everyone has it. But very often the school culture and the school climate happens by default, and there's no one who's really steering that ship. And maybe I'm getting more into my experience as an administrator. But the truth of it is if nobody's steering the ship and kind of leading the charge, you allow that culture to develop on its own, and you allow the climate to develop on its own. And it's possible that there could be a positive culture and climate by default, but it's much more likely if it's done with intention. And I think that intention comes from the leader of the educational leader of the school, the principal. And then the principal, of course, develops leadership throughout with other people who get on the bandwagon. And, and when that happens and people make an intentional effort to improve and create a positive culture and climate, that's when things really start to happen.
I do all of my work with administration and with staff because my hope is to build a culture and climate of learning, caring, and success. What I know is that the climate is primarily made up of the people within it. Students cycle through. Staff stays put. So the staff is a much more consistent entity to build culture and climate.